Okay, it is Thursday, April 13th, 2023. It is 10:21 a.m. Um, there's Rocky. I don't know if you can see him or not. There he is, if you can. There he is. Going in circles, make everybody seasick. It's a beautiful day. And I touched on something on my last video, and I should probably explain it. When I said that I didn't name Rocky, I want to explain that a bit. I really didn't. How Rocky came to get his name, well, he already had his name, really. See, for me, I guess because I believe in God, I believe that everything is a creation of God, and I believe that all creation is precious in God's eyes, right from the lowliest creature on up, you know. Now, I think humanity is his greatest creation. I think we outrank the other creations, but the other creations are nonetheless very precious and very important to God. And, Rocky, of course, is a creature created by God, like all creatures are. And I believe that God would not send a creature into this world without a name, because a name is an awfully important thing, And because I believe that, and I've seen it to be true, because, like I say, I have never named an animal. I don't name them because they already have a name. What I do is I listen to them and I find out what their name is. I let them tell me their name. And they do that just by being themselves. I mean, they can't walk up to you. Rocky didn't walk up to me when he was a kitten, and I went over to my friend's house after the kittens were born. He didn't walk up to me and extend his paw and say, "Hi there, my name's Rocky." Obviously, he didn't do that. But what he did is he showed me that his name was Rocky. And how he did that was through his personality and for the things that he did and so on. And I thought, okay, that's Rocky. I know who he is. His name's Rocky. And I know this probably sounds crazy to a lot of people, and I get odd looks when I say these things too, People do look at me like I'm a pretty strange bird, and I suppose I am a pretty strange bird. I've always been a bit of a nonconformist. I've always kind of walked to the beat of my own drum, and that's baffled and confused people for a very long time. I'm 55 years old. I've been doing this since I was a little kid, and it's got me noticed in a not so good way a lot of the time. But the thing is, here's my philosophy about it. I figure that God brought all creatures into the world. Rocky's one of God's creatures. God loves all his creatures. And God would not send a creature into the world without something so important as a name. And so what I do is, I let the animal tell me its name through its mannerisms and through its personality, through what it does. Now, in Rocky's case, of course, he has the look of a raccoon. You probably noticed that. And, of course, there is, like one of my subscribers mentioned, and I'm very astute to notice it, too. Rocky, Rocky the raccoon. He has that look to him. That's part of it. Now, the other thing is, I was checking to make sure my flame is still on there. I'm toasting some bread. I don't know what you can see again, because when I turn the camera around, I don't know. But anyway, there's that. There's his looks. But that's not really the main thing, because it's his personality that I want to see when I decide, okay, what's he trying to tell me here? He's going to tell me his name, but what name is he telling me? That goes by his personality. Well, he was the runt of the litter. Believe it or not, that big lug laying over there, that big lump of cat, that big old gray tiger, when he was a baby, when he was a kitten, he was the runt of the litter. That's an absolute fact. He really was. And his brothers and sisters tried to starve him to death. They wouldn't let him anywhere near. They crawled all around the mother's belly there, be sucking on her teats. They wouldn't let him in there. Nope, you don't get a teat. You're the runt. Go over in the corner and die of starvation. That's pretty much what it was. Do the right thing and die of starvation because you are weak. That's what it boiled down to. And he used to have to fight for access to milk. He had to fight for access to his mother's teat, so that he didn't starve to death so he could drink milk. And so he'd literally rear up on his hind legs and he'd throw paws at his brothers and sisters where they were trying to crowd him out away from the milk supply. And he'd actually do that thing the boxers do where they go when they're throwing punches. They make that sound, He'd do that. He'd do that when he was throwing punches at them. And he'd throw punches just like a boxer. He was a little fighter. And he'd get access to the teat. The only reason he's alive today is because he fought for milk when he was a kitten. And Rocky, though, he's very loving, he's very sweet. He cares, you can tell he's a very caring creature, very sweet creature, but he's tough as nails, too. And he reminded me a lot of the Sly Stallone character, Rocky, from the old Rocky series of boxing movies, because that's what he was. He was the underdog. There was no way in the world he should have won anything. No way in the world he should have been able to beat anybody. He had to overcome amazing odds to do it. And he became a champion, and he became champion boxer, like he wanted to be. Well, that's Rocky in a nutshell, anyway. That's my Rocky in a nutshell. He's a survivor, and he prevails. Oh, I don't know what he's after. It looks like he sees something. He's hunting. Again, I don't know if you can see him there or not. Anyway, bottom line is, I got that hole covered there. I have a hole in the ground there where I put a tote in the summertime, and it keeps the temperature in the ground is about 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the temperature of the air. So I have a tote I put in there and I have a styrofoam plug that I put in the top of it. You stay close, Rocky. Don't go too far away. And there's a styrofoam plug that I put in the top of it to seal it. Now see, you can see my bread is toasting here. There you go. Again, it's a little awkward with the camera pointed this way, so I'm not sure what all you're seeing, because I can't really see what you're seeing, because the screen is pointing away from me right now. But here's the thing. I've had these two other cats too, Barney and Muella. And again, I didn't name them. They came to me with names. I just let them tell me what their name was, that's all. And Barney was definitely Barney. It suited him to a T. And actually, my young niece, Emily, actually named Barney. I didn't name Barney. But she has a talent for naming animals, or at least for seeing what the animal's name is. So maybe she gets that from me, I don't know, because again, she seems to know what an animal's name is, And she figures it out, lets them tell her, like I do. And Muella, well, me and my niece Emily came up with that name together, actually. Because Emily said, because she looked like a cow, like a black and white cow, and Emily said you should call her Moo. And I said that I didn't want to do that, because then when I was calling her, I'd be making cow sounds. And I knew a guy in my hometown of Perth. He was a drug dealer. Everybody called him Hood. That wasn't his real name, but that's what everybody called him. And when he'd get drunk and high, he'd start making moo sounds. And I didn't like Hood very much. I thought Hood was a real piece of you-know-what. So I don't really care much for drugs. And this guy was an awful outfit. And very disrespectful, very self-centered, very arrogant. And I didn't like him anyway. I really didn't. When I drove a taxi cab, he used to try to cheat me out of my $3.50